Hey, what's up, guys? So we are going to do a weekly review of The Last of Us, starring Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. I personally have not ever played the video game, not even 1 second of it. I know of the story, I know the characters, but besides that, I have no idea. So that's where he comes in. This is my brother, Justin. So
Hello.
He has played the video game. He loves the video game. So he knows more about the story and what's going to go on. So he's going to give you kind of his perception of what the video game is against the movie, if he likes certain things, if he likes what they're doing, and so on. But either way, let's get into the review. So first, he's going to go into, what he thought of the first episode, his likes, dislikes, just a small little synopsis almost of what he liked about it. And then we'll get into spoilers a little bit after, later in the video.
I liked the show. It was a little slow, but you kind of expect that when you get adaptations to TV shows.
Yeah, it's like world building basically. Like you have to set up. So like for people like me, I've never played the video game. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So it kind of sets up the world, and I get it. It's slow. A lot of shows have done that before.
Yeah, they add in a lot of extra details to kind of create more depth to some of the characters that you don't get in the game.
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed it, and from what I hear, the rest of the show is quite good. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean,
where it goes.
It's at 98% Rotten Tomatoes. It seems like anybody is loving this show. I really enjoyed it. I liked the small little details they had at the beginning. Her going to get the watch, her giving him the watch. Like I said, I don't really know anything about the actual game itself, so I don't know if that's in the game. He's more of the expert on that. But I enjoyed it for what it was. It's really cool. It kind of shows you what's going to come up and what you can expect, but doesn't really get you into the story a whole bunch yet, because it's kind of just sucking you into the show first. Alright, so next, now that we said our little piece about how we liked it, what we liked, little things like that, now we're going to go into kind of a little more in-depth. So I guess spoilers if you haven't seen the episode already. I know it came out, I think 2 or 3 days ago, depending on when this video comes up. Hopefully it comes out Tuesday, I believe. But either way, we're going to go more in depth with the actual episode. He's going to go more in depth with kind of like what lines up with the game, what doesn't, and we'll go from there.
So the game starts off with Joel coming home from work almost midnight on his birthday, and Sarah's asleep on the couch, and so he wakes her up when he gets home, and she gets up, gives him his present, just like in the show, and it's the watch that she had fixed. Even the joke about, the watch seems broken, but it's actually not, like that's in the game as well. Honestly, like there's some sections that are just word for word from the game, which is great because the game script is wonderful.
So basically, like anything of her going to like downtown, getting the watch, her going or like talking to the neighbors and stuff like that, none of that is in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it starts off with Joel coming home from work.
Okay,
yeah.
So like even his brother, you don't even see until like all hell breaks loose later in the night.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't see the brother. He shows up in it's actually an SUV in the game. It's not a truck. And
you heard it here first.
And there's nothing about jail. He's not bailing him out. Actually, what happens is, I guess while Sarah's asleep, Joel hears a disturbance and he goes to check on the neighbors. And Sarah wakes up because of, I think it's gunshots or something, or explosions or whatever. And then you can hear the dog barking like in the show, but you don't actually see the dog. And so you're just searching around for Joel, wondering where's Dad. And he comes in from the backyard, like very disturbed at what he just saw. And one of the neighbors, he's like chasing him because he's already infected and he's been turned a bit. And so he gets shot right in front of Sarah. And that's pretty much like how
The beginning of the game.
the craziness starts from then on. Yeah. And then Tommy comes in and picks them up and they take off.
I do like that they added a lot of that beginning stuff, because it kind of builds character and lets you know the father and daughter relationship, and they're really tight. And same thing with like the neighbors. I thought one of the best things, and I was watching it with my girlfriend too, and and where you see Sarah kind of a close-up shot, and you see the older lady in the background, and you can see her start to fidget and go back and forth, and it's freaky as all hell.
Yeah.
But it's such a cool shot because you're just like, okay, cool. Is she gonna die right now? Like, is she about to get killed because Granny's gonna jump up and attack her, and then she turns around and then she's just regular. So it's cool to kind of build that world and build that suspense without actually jumping you right into it right away like the video game did.
Yeah, they definitely build the father-daughter relationship in the show a lot more. Because the game is sad enough as it is. Now that if you've seen the episode, you know what happens. It's the exact same. But the building that connection between the two of them, or you see her make all this effort to make his birthday good, even though he doesn't ask for anything, and you could see how much she cares about him, and it just pulls at the heartstrings even more than it did in the video game. So the show really does a better job at that aspect. So then Tommy comes by and picks, well, actually in the show it's both of them, Joel and Tommy, right? But in the game it's just Tommy. He swings by and picks up Joel. At this time, Joel saw what happened to the neighbors, and he's already scared out of his mind. And so they get Sarah and Joel and they take off in the car, and their direction was from the initial radio broadcasts, I guess, on where to go to be safe. But then they find out that all of the roads are blocked, and you see this whole play out in the show. But it's almost mirrored from the game. And I think the best part of the show is the world building around them, the planes crashing, and that that's really cool when the plane crashes behind them.
Yeah, and even in the chase scene too, I love how they really give you a perspective of if you're just playing the game almost. Yeah. The camera angle and how he's driving, you're kind of seeing what he's seeing, and then they see the army and everything's blocked off and they have to reverse, and instead of just kind of either panning back with the camera and showing the entire car, they do it where you just turn around and you're looking through the back window, you're literally just turned like this and reversing yourself. And it's really cool to kind of see that, and then the plane crashes down, wrecks the car, and then it almost feels like you're in the car, and you're like, oh shit, am I dead?
Yeah, that scene is really great. I like how they did it in the show better than the game.
Damn. Okay. So then after all of that mayhem, carnage, and all that crazy stuff happens in the little downtown city area, you get them running, and I really thought it was kind of a cool thing too, and it just seems like this is a video game trope, but where they're running and Joel and Sarah get on one side of the car, and then a car just a cop car runs in and just cuts them off, and they both say, all right, we got to find alternate ways to get around, because I just feel like I've seen that in a lot of video games where, all right, cool, we got to work our way around a building or whatever to get to our party. But then...
what's funny is that actually is not what happens in the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just felt like that was literally just a video game kind of insert right there.
Yeah.
But then you get them running, and they run into a cop or a military, whoever it is, and I'll let this guy take over because he likes that storyline, but also gets a little emotional. So
yeah. So when in the show they get separated because the cop car slams into the back of the crashed truck, and they're in the alley and they have to continue on. In the game, they all three of them run down the alley, and they end up getting separated when one of the turned people start attacking them, and Tommy stays back to hold the door shut and tells Joel and Sarah to continue on, and he'll meet with them later. So that's when they separate in the game. And then Joel starts running, holding Sarah in his arms, and they go out into a field, and they're about to get attacked again. But just like the show, the military personnel shoots the person chasing them, and then holds them up as he talks to whoever on the phone. That whole scene plays out pretty much the same, and it is heart-wrenching. And as a father of a 3-year-old, that scene made me cry. I could not imagine losing my daughter, especially in that way. It's brutal.
I mean, honestly, too, it may make me heartless, but we were both watching it, and I literally said, well, she's not in any of the extra trailers, any of the other scenes. I was like, so basically I was just waiting to see how she died, and yes, that scene definitely did suck, and you could tell too, and he was just like, repeat that, what do you want me to do? Because even he was like, do you really want me to shoot a child? And yeah, it's what he does.
Yep. It's the same. It plays out the same in the game, and it's sad in both scenarios.
So then we fast forward 20 years into the future, 2023, which is this year, so who knows, maybe this is going to happen this year. But we get into, Joel going around doing some odd jobs here and there, kind of doing all those weird things. We're not going to get too in depth with what he's doing there, but this is kind of when he first meets Ellie. So there's a girl named Marlene. She's the resistance leader. She really is the one that has Ellie tied up, because I'm assuming she thinks she's infected or knows she's infected, but, she's not really acting how everybody else would have acted. So that's why she's got her chained up and doing all those weird tests and stuff. And that's kind of, they kind of jump together because there's a certain guy they're both messing with that kind of links them together. And then Joel ends up meeting Ellie and kind of taking the responsibility of getting her to where she needs to be.
Yeah, so in the game, it's kind of the same scenario. What happens in the show, they're looking for a battery because they're trying to go find Tommy, who's been missing for 3 weeks. Tommy's not even mentioned in the game at this point. Right now, in the game, they're trying to buy stuff from Robert and like a cache of guns to try and sell. And so you see Joel doing these odd jobs and stuff in the show, but in the game, like they're pretty well off as like illegal smugglers and stuff. So like the whole scenario is kind of the same, but it plays out like way differently in the game. So in the game, the reason that they run into the resistance is because they're trying to track down Robert because they're looking for their guns, which they find out that he sold to the resistance. It's really kind of similar to the battery.
They're both buying it kind of thing.
Yeah, they're just trying to make it more personal, I guess, in the show.
Yeah. So he's trying to find his brother instead of just trying to find guns, basically.
Yeah, they're a little more heartless in the game.
So
ruthless, I guess.
In the game, is the Resistance who has Ellie in the first place?
Yeah, the Resistance has Ellie. In the game, it plays out different. You don't see Ellie tied up or anything like that.
Okay.
It really just seems like Ellie and Marlene have an actual relationship in the game. So when Joel and Tess end up taking Ellie in the show, you don't really understand why Ellie would care about leaving Marlene based off of what you've seen. But in the game, they make it feel like Ellie and Marlene have like a deep relationship.
It almost made sense like that too, because in the show, when she was like, "Oh, I hate you," like, "Why you have me tied up," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then when she's like, "Oh yeah, Joel's gonna take you to whatever," it seems like she has like that weird emotional connection. But then literally, it seems like that same day, she had her tied up to a radiator.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
Yeah, so it was like, why are you leaving me, blah, blah, but it just seemed weird or rushed, I guess, but that makes sense. You have to do that in a TV show that's ever, 8, 9 episodes long. You kind of got to push it along a little bit.
Yeah, because at this point in the game, you've already been outside the wall to get to where Marlene is at, and you've already taken people, or I don't know, what do they call them?
Smuggling? Refugees?
No, the sick people.
Oh, I have no idea.
I forget what they call them. I know like the names, but
oh no, I have no idea.
Okay, so you're already fighting the zombies. I guess you've already fought in
you said the Z word.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're zombies. They're like fungi zombies.
Yeah, I guess they're infected. I guess maybe you can call them.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I get it. And then after all of that, that's when Joel kind of takes Ellie. And that's when you see like I thought it was an awesome shot where like it's like you can see kind of like the lightning and then the two towers peek through where one's leaning on the other. And is that like, I feel like I've seen that before as like a game cover or like a screenshot from the game. Is that in there at all? Do you see that tower or whatever?
Yeah, well like I'm saying, like the game, you already go outside the wall to get to where Marlene ends up being.
Okay.
And then you just kind of, like, you want the guns in the game, and Marlene makes them a deal. If you take Ellie to the Capitol, we'll give you all of your guns.
Gotcha. Okay. And that kind of makes sense with how the show put into where she was like, take her there and we have all of our guns there. You can just have whatever you want kind of thing.
Yeah. It's really like the end result is the same, but in the show they tried to like pull at your heartstrings a bit more and make you a little more emotionally invested, I guess.
Yeah, where they kind of get you more in depth with their relationship and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're looking for Tommy. Tommy's been missing. And
yeah. Honestly, I thought the resistance part was really the weakest part of this episode because they just get thrown in there. You really don't know anything about them. I mean, if you played the game, you probably do, but if you watch the show and it's just the show, I have no idea who they are, and they they make it seem like they're really important, which I'm sure they are, but it's just kind of they threw them in there and they're like, oh, hey, we're the resistance. We have people in all these little cities, all around, and I don't know. It just seemed like it was rushed to me, but it could play out and be better.
Yeah. I think they kind of drug on some of the depth they were trying to create. Yeah, and it ended up rushing like the more important part, which is when they interact with Ellie and stuff at the end of the episode.
Yeah, because Joel, when he sees her in the hallway, it's like he kicks the knife, and then they're just like, okay, fuck it, let's take her, let's just do it. But there's no like, and do they tell her like she might be infected, but she like does Joel know that to begin with, or is it literally just him smuggling her and that's it?
No, that's the same. Yeah, and Joel even takes Ellie back to his apartment in the show or in the game, and that whole scene where he lays down and she's like, "What do I do?" and he's like, "Oh, I'm sure you figured it out." It's word for word the game. It's the same thing as the game.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole section, the whole like listening to the radio and the code, like that's not in the game either.
Gotcha. Okay. So then, right after all of that, they're leaving. They're trying to get out, and they kind of just jump into a situation with the cop that we saw earlier in the show, with the getting drugs from Joel, and shit happens. Things happen, and basically it's a kill or be killed world out there, and that's really what ends up happening.
Yeah. So when the cops have them down on their knees and they start doing the testings, Ellie knows she's going to be positive for the virus, that she's infected. And so the same thing in the show happens in the game. She stabs him in the leg, and then Joel just has to take over and take out the officer. In the game, there's two cops, so Tess ends up shooting one in the head, and then Joel kills the other one. And then they start getting chased by cops for a while in the game as they run away.
And then obviously you saw in the show, they get out and you kind of just see that big wide open shot of like outside of the walls and kind of what they're getting into, and you can even hear some of the infected or zombies or whatever you want to call them, kind of screeching in the background. But that's our first video. So let us know down in the comment section below, what did you think of the first episode? What did you think of, the game versus the show? What are the differences? Have you ever played the video game? Let us know down in the comment section below. Let us know if you liked this episode. If you liked hearing about what's different in the game, what we thought of the show. Either way, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that fun stuff. Please do. Helps me out. And then this guy is definitely going to be back for every single episode. So that way we can kind of do, again, a more in-depth kind of... Because I like hearing about this. I've never played the video game. So it's cool to kind of learn different things and see the perspective and how the show does it better or how the game does it better. Alright, but either way, let us know in the comment section below. And did you have any closing thoughts?
I just thought the game did a lot better at world building and a lot better at creating the suspense and dread that's outside this wall where everybody's protected.
I mean, it makes sense. But either way, we'll see you in the next video.
How many thumbs up do I do?
You can do whatever you want.